Well, I learned about Nikken through my family. I had a brother-in-law that had 11 years with major back problems. And he ended up using that same mud flap, if you will, the Flex. Had phenomenal results. Got results from things that doctors, chiropractors, massage therapists hadn't been able to take care of. I did not believe what I heard to begin with. It sounded a little bit crazy to me. My mother had some significant challenges. She had rheumatoid arthritis, fibromyalgia, polymyalgia rheumatica. She was nigh into a wheelchair, and she'd been to piles and piles of specialists. She'd looked for lots and lots of answers. And these technologies, she got everything. She said, I've got nothing to lose, everything to gain. And my father said that he got his wife back. She got her life back. And he got the ability to make a grip again. He got off all of his thyroid medication. And after I had ended up 5 auto accidents that they knew about, the last one I rolled my car, they said, I don't care how weird you think this is, son, you will be using it. And I ended up on a Nikken sleep system. Transformed my life. Years worth of chronic strep throat and bronchitis transformed. I sleep 2 to 4 hours less per day, tons more energy. And I was awakened to the concept of residual income through Nikken. I was just blown away with the type of lifestyle that could be achieved through this company. I loved what I did in academia. I loved what I did in music, the teamwork, the large visionary concepts that were achieved through over 250 people at the opera company. I did not like the politics. I did not like sometimes the backbiting. I did not like the dog-eat-dog world. I did not like that I was barely able to feed myself, let alone think of being able to get married and have a family. And as I looked ahead, I saw many people in many careers. I mean, I was just in my mid-20s, and I saw many people in many careers who were still just, they were just month to month trying to figure out how they're going to feed themselves. And if they lost their job, they would be hurting within 2 weeks. And I didn't want to find myself 40 years down the road in that same spot. And so as I learned more about Nikken, met people who were making more per month than many people were making all year. And I just took that opportunity to say, you know what, we only live once. Might as well have an opportunity to try something and put my hands in something I was unfamiliar with. But I knew from my training in piano, I had my first year at Utah State University, I progressed more in that first year than I had in the previous 3 or 4 years. And it was because I had an absolutely amazing mentor, amazing teacher. And I figured if I could just find someone who knew what they were doing with this and then follow exactly what they said to do, I could figure this thing out. And I was pretty dang good at that for the most part. I made a 100-name list. I took my mentor with me on my first appointments. And I was able to, I got all the products to begin with. I was scared to death to do so. I mean, when you're living on a college budget and you've never been in debt and suddenly you're putting, I didn't have the money sitting around in a bank account. So I took out a loan from Mr. Visa and Mr. MasterCard. The cool part was most businesses take about 7 years to break even. I broke even in under 3.5 months. And within 9 months, I was able to say goodbye to my job. I haven't had a job in over 23 years. And it's just been a really neat thing in that category. So I would just tell people, make sure that you are coachable and teachable. And do you want to ask the question now, Mike, or can I?
Yes, I do. I want to ask the question. So yeah. Okay. So great story. Fantastic. Again, humble beginnings and a transformational experience becoming an entrepreneur with Nikken. So if you had your first 90 days to do over again, knowing what you know now, what would you do the same or what would you do different?
Yeah. The first 90 days set up the path for a lot. And your first 90 days can be whenever you decide that you're really going to engage. Because I was on the products for about 9 months and I was an undercover Nikkenite. My roommates weren't even to know that I was on these products. I was embarrassed about it. And the crazy thing that happened is my parents found a former roommate and his new wife that had challenges. And we got them results. And when I had someone in my sandbox to play with me, someone my age, someone that I got excited. And once I engaged, that when you mentally engage, say, I really think I want to play with this. Those 90 days there are really important. And I learned that make a 100-name list. Don't prejudge anybody. Talk to any and everybody. And when you make the 100-name list, narrow it down to your top 20 people who aren't just people that breathe and fog a mirror, but people, when you talk to them, the lights are on. You talk to them and they've got some spark. They've got some zest for life. And if you can find some people with zest for life and people who aren't afraid of opportunity, people who aren't afraid to get their feet wet and their hands dirty, and then ignite them. And that was the part that I was that I wish I wasn't afraid to do to begin with. I was nervous about putting my agenda onto other people and being pushy, if you will. But when you've got something as exciting as Nikken, I just got to share a story from yesterday. I called a guy up at a real estate matter that I had shared products with 3 years ago. He'd lost vision in one eye. He'd lost vision in one eye. And I said, here, grab this, grab this. He says, do you ever know what happened? I said, no, tell me. He says, I'd been to piles of specialists. He said, I'd spent all this money. And he says, 5 days of wearing this stuff, and I got my eyesight back. Well, I want you to think, folks, not just physically getting your eyesight back, but getting your vision back and your excitement back for life and zest for getting out and doing stuff. And boy, I used three-way phone calls a ton. And three-way phone calls in my early days ignited people and gave them a vision. I wish I'd have done it with more people because I didn't have the ability to communicate the full vision of Nikken like people who were farther down the path. So to use three-way phone calls with any and everybody on the list, I think that would be absolutely hugely important. The other thing is, not as you're introducing Nikken to people, don't prejudge who is only going to be interested in the products and who's going to be interested in the business. I tell people, I say, you know what? I say, I realize this may or may not be for you. I realize the business may or may not be for you. I didn't learn this for about a year and a half. I was always deciding, well, this person just wants stuff for their back, or this person just wants stuff for their sleep or water. And I learned that you've got to row with both oars. Both oars. Every person you talk to, you talk a little about the business, you talk a little about the product, and then at the end, after you've done that, and you said, I realized this business may or may not be for you, but I feel obligated to let you know, blah, 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 blah. You've planted seeds. And at the end of that first presentation, I then learned to ask, well, would you like a little more information about the product or business, or both? Would you like a little more information about the product or business, or both? And once I had done that, I wish my first 90 days had that in. I would have captured and retained so many more people to make sure to present and row with both oars all the time. And if that was, that would be for me, because I got all the products to begin with, Mike. I was scared to death, but I knew that Dad, when he bought the farm, he had to take out a loan to buy the farm. And I knew that entrepreneurs had to do that. I knew that I needed to talk to a lot of people. I put Nikken in all the nooks and crannies, but if I had been better at communicating the full vision or linking my people with people who could communicate the full vision, I don't know anybody who wouldn't want to do Nikken if they understood the whole picture. And that, to me, is the big part, is making sure that vision is shared.
Fantastic. That is awesome advice. Wow. Well, thanks, Brody, for joining us this morning or this afternoon and sharing your vision. Your vision story was very good, by the way.